7 days after my son's naming ceremony, my husband did not come home. By midnight, I had called everyone. His friends, his colleagues, the man he played football with on Saturdays. Nobody had seen him. Nobody knew anything. Then his mother called me. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Prepared. Edaize, Emeka traveled. Business in Port Harcourt. He will call you when he settles. I wanted to believe her. She was his mother. What reason would a mother have to lie about her own son? So I believed her. 2 weeks passed. His number stopped ringing and went permanently off. Every time I called his family, the answer was the same. He is fine. Be patient. These business things take time. Then Chukwudi, his eldest brother, called me. Edaize, the people Emeka went to do business with are holding him. There's a debt. You need to send $150 tonight or things will get very bad. My chest collapsed. I ran to my neighbor. I borrowed. I called my mother and cried until she sent money from the village. I sent $150 to Chukwudi before midnight. He sent one message back. Received. We are working on it. That was it. The following month, he called again. $200. Interest had added. Then $120. Then $250. Then $180. Every month a different amount. Every month a different reason. The debt, the feeding, the people, the agreements they were negotiating. I was a pepper and tomato seller in Mile 12 Market. I woke at 4 every morning, stood in heat and rain all day, and every single month I gathered whatever I could find and sent it to people who called me with a new story. By the end of the first year, I had sent over $1,800, borrowed from my market women, borrowed from church members, borrowed from neighbors. Eventually, I walked into a microfinance bank and collected a $1,200 loan I told them was for business expansion. I transferred the first installment to Chukwudi before I reached the bus stop. Drop a comment right now. At what point would you have stopped sending? Because I need to know. Was I foolish or was I just a woman who loved her husband? I went to their compound in Onitsha at the end of that first year. Emeka's mother met me at the gate before I even knocked. She stood in the entrance, her body blocking the gap, her face arranged into something between pity and warning. Emeka was not there. Still in Port Harcourt. The situation was ongoing. I should go back to Lagos and take care of my son and let the family handle things. I stood at that gate for 40 minutes without moving. She said, "A good wife waits. She does not create wahala for people who are trying to help her husband." Then she went inside and the gate closed. I went back 4 more times in year 2. Each time the compound was locked before I arrived. Someone was always watching the road and warning me I was coming. Once, I sat outside for 3 hours. Nobody came out, not even to check if I was still there. I went with my pastor once. They let him in alone. He came out 30 minutes later and told me, gently, carefully, like he was handling something fragile, that perhaps I should consider the possibility that Enika did not want to be found. I left that church the following Sunday and never went back. Year 2, year 3. My son was asking questions a child should never have to ask. Why doesn't daddy call? Did daddy forget us? I held him every night and told him daddy was coming soon, and the lie sat in my chest like a stone. By year 3, I had sent over $5,800 total. My market was shrinking, my body was shrinking. Some mornings I ate nothing so my son could eat full. But something in me refused to accept that Emeka was dead. Not logic, not religion, just knowing. The way you know things about someone when you have shared a life with them. Something in me knew he was somewhere. I just could not find him. If this story is hurting you to watch, good. Stay with me because the truth is coming. The 4th time I went to Onitsha, I made a decision I had never made before. I did not go to beg. I did not go to explain myself. I went to sit. I arrived at 5:30 in the morning. The street was quiet. I walked to the compound gate, looked at it once, and sat down on the ground in front of it. I had food, water, and 3 days arranged with my neighbor for my son. I was not leaving until something happened. An hour passed. Neighbors came out, saw me, went inside. A woman selling akara across the road watched me like I was entertainment. Children passed for school and whispered. Nobody from the compound came out. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, scraping, the sound of someone who needed more time than most to cover ground. An old woman, bent spine, wooden stick, eyes that had seen too much in one lifetime. I had never seen her before. She was a distant relative of the family, lived 3 compounds away. She stopped beside me. She looked at me on the ground. She looked at the gate. She looked back at me. Then she hissed, long and low, the kind of hiss that carries a whole history. She bent towards me slowly, gripping her stick, and whispered, "My daughter, why are you sitting outside looking for somebody who is inside?"
She straightened, walked away, turned the corner, gone. I sat with those words. Why are you sitting outside looking for somebody who is inside? I looked at that gate. Then I stood up, brushed my wrapper, and went to find a police station. The officers were not immediately helpful. A woman claiming her husband is hidden in his family compound. They looked at me the way people look at women they have already decided are dramatic. I opened my book. Every transfer, every date, every amount, 37 months of documentation in a small brown notebook I carried everywhere like a second Bible. One officer leaned forward. I told them I was not leaving without someone coming with me. I had receipts. I had a son at home who had not seen his father since he was 7 days old. I was not a hysterical woman. 2 officers came with me. When that gate opened with police behind me, Emeka's mother appeared immediately. She spread her hands wide, smiled at the officers, called them by their ranks. She said her door was always open. She said she had been praying for her son to return. The officer asked her to call Emeka. Her smile held 1 second too long. She said Emeka was in Port Harcourt. The officer said, then we will look around ourselves. They found him in the boys' quarters at the back. Small room, 1 window, a mattress on the floor, a bucket in the corner. He was sitting when the door opened. He looked up at the officers. Then he saw me standing behind them. He went completely still. I could not move either. After 3 years, after $5,800, after every night lying in the dark with no words left, I was standing in front of my husband. He said my name. Just my name. Then he started to cry. That night, he told me everything. The same week of our son's naming ceremony, his family summoned him to Onitsha. They had found him a proper wife, an Igbo woman from a family they approved. His marriage to me, my background, my tribe, my people, was not acceptable to them. When he refused, they locked him in. They took his phone. They controlled his food. His brothers watched him in shifts. And every day they told him, Adaize has moved on. Adaize is seeing someone else. Adaize has forgotten you. For 3 years, they poisoned him with lies about me, while collecting my money every single month. The debt was never real. Port Harcourt was never real. The only real thing was that they wanted to destroy us, and they almost did. If this video is making you angry, good. Like it right now, and keep watching because the ending is not what you expect. I did not collapse in that compound. I did not scream. I had already spent 3 years falling apart in private. I had no tears left for their walls. I took my husband and I walked out. But before I passed through that gate, I stopped in front of his mother. I looked at her for a long moment. She could not hold my eyes. I said, every dollar I sent, God recorded it. Every night I cried, God recorded it. I don't need to curse you. Your own hands have already written your story. I walked out. Back in Lagos, Emeka was not okay. 3 years of isolation does something to a person's mind that does not heal quickly. He was quiet in ways he had never been quiet before. He startled easily. He sat for long periods without speaking. He needed time. He needed space. He needed his son. The first night home, my son climbed onto his father's lap, studied his face for a long moment, like he was making sure, then leaned his head on his chest and closed his eyes. I had to leave the room. I stood in the kitchen and pressed my hand over my mouth and let myself break privately one last time. We filed a formal report. The transfer records, the 37 months of my brown notebook, all of it went into a police file. Chukwudi faced the most serious consequences. The microfinance debt became part of the legal case. Emeka's mother never said sorry. Not with words, not directly. But 8 months later, she fell seriously ill. One by one, the children she had controlled scattered to their own lives. Nobody was available the way she had imagined they would be. She called Emeka. He went, because that is the kind of man my husband is. She was in a hospital bed, smaller than I remembered, her eyes finally carrying the weight of everything she had done. She looked at Emeka and said, "Bring your wife and bring my grandson." I went, not for her, for my husband and for my son who deserved to know his full history, even the ugly parts. I sat beside that bed. I held that woman's hand, the same hand that had closed a gate in my face, the same woman who had collected my borrowed money for 3 years while her son sat in a room at the back of her compound. I held her hand, not because she deserved it, but because I refused to let what she did to me change what I am. We are still married, we are still healing. Some wounds take longer than others, but we wake up in the same house, we eat at the same table, and every morning when I watch my son sit across from his father at breakfast, I think about an old woman with a wooden stick and worn slippers. Why are you sitting outside looking for somebody who is inside? She will never know what those 9 words did. Or maybe she does. If you made it to the end, you are exactly who this channel is built for. Share this video with one person today and tell me in the comments, would you have held that woman's hand or would you have walked away? Subscribe to Femmz Stories. A new betrayal story drops every week. And remember, not every enemy is a stranger.